IVM.
Alright, hello guys to another awesome episode of IVM Likes. This is episode 201. 201. What an excellent number. Right after 200 it comes, if you guys know counting, because that's how counting works. And last episode we had talked about our favorite comedians. That was the 200th episode. And on this episode, as a World Music Day special, we're going to talk about our favorite musicians and the kind of music we discovered in college while we were in college. Because I'm sure a lot of you listeners right now are in college or have been to college, or I don't know, you like studying. I don't know how it works. But you guys definitely like music that you discovered at some point in your life and it stayed with you and it has defined a lot of your life since then. And so that's what we'll be talking about from our own experiences. Joining me, I'm Antariksh Thakkar, your host. Joining me on this episode is Deep Singh. Hi Deep, how are you, man?
Hey Antariksh, long time.
Yep, long time. I mean, not that long. We were just talking, I think, a couple of weeks back. But hey, buddy, nice to see you again on this episode of IVM Likes. Also joining us, also joining Deep and me for the first time on IVM Likes is Vishnu Rajiv. Vishnu, what's up, man?
Hey man, how are you?
All good, all good. Vishnu is a sound engineer and sound editor for us at IVM. Vishnu, How long have you been now at IVM?
It is my fourth month.
Fourth month at IVM.
Month. Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Pretty
dude. So
new.
Nice. No, but 4 months is quite a lot, man. During this pandemic, 4 months seems like 5 years, man. So I don't blame you on
but
that.
I still feel I still feel everything is new for me because I haven't seen you guys apart from this four corners of the screen.
Dude, yeah. That's what we realize every week that I bring on new people onto the show is that, dude, I've never met half the people on this team. Like, it's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
It's crazy that a lot of us are going through this, man, that we are working with people endlessly, that basically we all work together almost every day, but we never meet. We've never seen each other. I mean, Deep and I have met because Deep and I have been working before the pandemic at IVM, but yeah, it's crazy. So all this is coming up in the episode. We'll be right back after a short break.
Hey, everybody, welcome to another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you're not following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I'd like to thank the sponsors on the network this week, Cred and Sia. Thank you so much for making this possible. We've had an amazing week on the network. Do check out The Note with Mahrukh Inayat. She speaks to Prabhat Kumar, the man leading child protection at one of India's leading NGOs, Save the Children. On The Habit Coach, Ashton was joined by Rajat Mittal Shah to talk about some superfoods in Ayurveda like turmeric and ashwagandha. On Paisa Vaisa, host Anupam Gupta has a digital gold special in 2 parts, one with Ashraf Rizvi, founder and CEO of Digital Swiss Code and Gilded, and one with Deepak Abbott, co-founder of India Gold. Listen to the first part of the Father's Day special of Agla Station Adulthood with Natasha and her father, Dr. Vipul Roy Rathod. You should also check out Cyrus Says' episode with Mukul Chadda. He talks about upcoming shows Sunflower and Sherni. Our Kannada podcast, Thale Artist, celebrates 100 episodes, and we had a reunion of hosts Pawan, Ganesh, and Surya who shared their favorite moments from the past. Shiva Mehta is back with the second season of Smile India. The show is available in both English and Hindi. On this episode, she talks about the conversion from bag teas to bagless ones and how we should ditch the plastic and have a great tea experience. And with that, let me get you back to your show.
Hello again, back from the break. And we are talking about the music, the kind of music that we got into college, that we got introduced to in college. It can be from maybe some sibling introduced it to us, or a friends group got us into that music. Or it can just be you were at that age and your parents heard some good song in the background someday and you were like, hey, now that is my jam. I don't know how it works. Let's get to you guys, Deep, Vishnu. To start off with, where did you guys... Okay, no. To start off with, I should first mention that you both are a rarity on this show. You both are actually musicians. We don't usually get people who know actually what they're talking about. Usually we just shoot stuff in the air. Yeah, TV shows, I know a lot about it. Yeah, comedy, I can do that shit. So, but you guys are actual musicians, dude. So, Deep,
would
you like to start us off?
Other hosts of this show.
Sorry, what?
Right into the face of the other guest and host on the show.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine that.
Yeah.
So Deep, before we start off, would you like to just give us a background of your musical history? Like, I know you're a part of a band, but tell us a little bit more, please.
So I started playing like 10 years, 10 and a half years back. And that was, I guess, when I joined engineering. That was okay. I did my science, and after that, after 12th, I joined an engineering college where I was doing my specialization in mechanical engineering. So I did a 4 years degree over there. So back when I was in my third semester, I developed a knack for playing guitar, and that's how my journey started. From there on, I'm just been playing guitar, and after that, like not very much time after that, I got into singing because that was my goal. Like I want to play and I want to sing as well. So I know people saying that playing guitar and singing at the same time is not an easy job.
Yeah, it's very, dude. Yeah, I know, man.
Yeah, so that's how I got into singing as well. So I did 3 years. I was actually under training for minimum of 5 years, if you go to say. And singing was for 3 years. I took a Western contemporary vocal training for 3 years.
Oh wow!
So
you did all of your training in Mumbai only?
Yeah, in Mumbai. I was getting trained under a mentor. I was being trained by a mentor, and yeah. After 5 years,
the mentor is like a personal mentor of yours, or is this a like music teacher or something?
He was a teacher, but I joined him as a student. But then after that, as I grew, he saw potential in me, so he took me in as a mentor.
Wow, that's so cool, man. Nice. I tried learning the guitar also for 2 months in my life, and then I learned everything, and I know everything now. So it's I don't know what you guys are worried about, man. It's so easy.
I don't know.
Yeah, sorry. Please go ahead.
Yeah.
So I really don't know like how people just stay on for guitar for 2 or 3 months and then they just give up. Mainly the factors.
Like yes, like how Deep said it. Just once you start playing, you cannot stop. Like as
I get it, dude.
You just kept playing.
I get it. Yeah. So you know.
So I've been playing till now. So I make this a point. I practice every day for 3 hours.
Wow.
Wherever I get time. So my concept of playing guitar is like if I don't play on this particular day, I have days scheduled for okay, this day I have to practice and this day I have to take a break because you just can't go on for every day and play the same thing. You just you get that kind of a saturation. Even we get that kind of saturation as a musician, fatigue, whatever you say. So yeah, I just feel incomplete if I haven't done a practice every and on that particular day. So
but 3 hours is a lot, man. How do you cover 3 hours every day? Or I'm sure that's a loose figure. Maybe it's
1.5 hours, 1.5 hours, break, cool. 1.5 hours. So I categorize that, but I just want to stop myself for now from here. So I just let Vishnu speak on that as well.
Yeah, cool. Thanks for that, Deep. Vishnu, what about you? Let's get to know a little bit more about your musical background a bit.
So for me, it was like I got this inspiration from my family only. Like everybody used to sing, as in not professionally trained or anything, but they used to sing like bathroom singers. Like they used to have this, how do we call it? Like sur tha. Like as in they all were good at singing. So I had this taste. I developed this taste for music like right since from my childhood. I started singing for the youth festivals from my school, and then that is where my musical journey started. Because every consecutive year, I had been selected for either some group music stuff or like live music stuff. So somewhere I was there, like doing some kind of music stuff. So from there it was that I developed, and I also started listening to a lot of Indian stuff, and then Indian music. I got a lot of exposure in Carnatic music. And after schooling, during my schooling, that is where the real music background that I would say that started. Mm-hmm. I started performing. I started playing the guitar because one of my friend was a guitarist, and he called me as a vocalist for his band for the inter-school competitions. And then from there we started performing, jamming, and I think that one phase that it will never come back in my life, because that is the time when I suddenly realized, oh man, this is the thing that I really want to do. Like everything else, like this is one thing. I was clueless. Like I didn't know what to do in my life. Like until I reached 11th, 12th, I got to know that, oh, nice, this is something that I can pick on and then go on later.
Yeah.
So, and
Do you
so first song.
do you remember the
sorry,
first song you ever performed, like on stage?
Yeah, yes, I do. The first song that I ever performed on stage was, oh man, you mean as a band or as in like singing any kind of music?
Either way, your first song that you performed on stage. It can be as a part of a band, can be you solo.
Oh man, that was very long, but I remember that it was some kind of a group song. But as a band, I still remember which song I performed on stage as a band performer.
Okay. I want to tell you like a quick fun story. Okay, like so I was in my school days, I was always on stage. Like I was always in like plays and elocutions and all that kind of stuff. Okay, like in my school days, and I remember like as part of like this was like so I was in boarding school for 2 years. Okay, in my 9th and 10th standard, I was in boarding school in Panchgani, near Mahabaleshwar in Maharashtra only, and one of the last like stage things that I was doing in my 10th standard, like after that it was going to be the holidays, like the 10th standard was getting over, and one of the last things was I wanted to do something different that I had not done on stage. I was like, I'm going to be unique and shit. So I thought instead of doing like reciting something, I will sing a song. Okay, and because I knew I could like carry a tune. Okay, like I could like at least like I can maintain a tune, I can maintain a rhythm, I won't go off beat at least. Okay, I know that much. So the song I decided to sing was In Dino from that movie. Which is that movie? Dil Mera Mujhse
I know this song. This is by Pritam, right?
Yeah. What is this goddamn Metro? Life in a Metro? Is it Life in a Metro?
Metro.
I think so.
Yeah, correct. So the song from Life in a Metro, and I started singing the song. I go on stage, okay, and whatever. So I used to be told by my friends that when they expect me to go on stage, they expect a dhamaka, like something really cool is going to happen, because I used to win a lot of these elocutions around in school. Okay. So I go on stage and I start singing, and immediately on stage, my voice cracks. Okay. Because Indino has a very long Indino. So it's not easy to do. And immediately my voice cracked. And because that the entire thing is just cracking. Every note I pull is just fully cracking. And I can feel it. The audience is completely silent. They're like, but I can see friends of mine just going like palms, and I'm like, dude, just stop. Don't do this. So that's like one of the most unfond memories of music, but hilarious memories of music that I have in my mind. So sorry, but Vishnu, I cut you off. You were saying.
No, that's, even we have had like so many of those experiences in our life, but we went through that. We had to go like as in they would have many experiences. I'm sure.
You have to
many, but at least one.
Yeah, for sure. Like but anyway, please, sorry, go ahead. I want to get to another question after that.
No, I was just saying that it was so basically my 11th grade and my 12th grade was my like as in life-changing thing, and then after that I did my course as in music vocalist, as in I learned the Carnatic music in Kerala University. I did my bachelor's degree there. So my major was voice. So I learned the Carnatic vocals there.
So your major was voice?
I used to sing.
Wow.
Yeah, so I did that, and then so coming there, it was like until then that I was only like exposed to the Indian stuff mostly. Like as in, of course I used to listen to the Metallica stuff, the like mainstream, the rock song, Metallica, Linkin Park, Nirvana. So all these mainstream stuff, mainstream songs and genres were always there, but I never get to hear like John Scofield when I was unless or until I did another course in Swarnabhumi Academy of Music. So it was like the music just went through, like as in it just took a big leap after that, like as in so many stories after
So how many years has it been now that you both have been doing music, Vishnu?
I would say that it was right from its childhood. So like as in some way related to music, it would be like I think maybe 5 to 6 years old since I was 5. Now I'm 27.
Okay, and the first thing you played was the guitar. The first instrument you ever held was the guitar, or did you try the Casio or something?
Yeah, the first thing. The first instrument that I learned was guitar. Yeah.
Okay, wow. Deep, what about you? How long do you think it's been for you now?
So it's been like 9 years since I've been playing.
Wow.
And so as I said, 10.5 years of complete playing, like considering the training and playing as well. But 2 years after I joined to get playing guitar, I started playing also. So I started off by playing in annual days, in my music academies itself. So yeah, that was completely after 2 years of my start days of training.
All right, cool. That's
But yeah, it has been as Vishnu shared. It has been as Vishnu mentioned that point that a stage, a performance for any kind of musician is like a homecoming. And I seriously miss my homecoming in these pandemic days. So yeah,
that's so true. And I miss the stage a lot, man. It's been so difficult not getting on stage. So listeners, these both are musicians, Vishnu and Deep. I am a stand-up comedian. I do stand-up on the side. And it's been so difficult not being able to perform and get on stage and get that just that audience satisfaction that you need to just go ahead in life if you are a performer like we are.
I just wanted to point this thing out. What if people have been asking me like how can you do that on stage, what you do on stage, and how can you execute that? I have stage fear. I have I feel a little bit of phobic when I face the stage. So it's just this simple. You just don't consider the stage as, okay, this is a performing platform. This is not a performing platform. It is something that you have to live on. Just think of like if you would come to home and if you would go to someone else's house, there are different behaviors on these two places.
Yeah, correct.
So similarly, stage is like our home. When we go, it's like Freddie Mercury from Queen. He himself was like, stage is my home, and the way he was on stage, he was not off stage. That's because the stage was his home, and he could feel by himself on the stage.
Also, also I feel that if you are new, you will definitely be scared, man. It's just there's nothing to it. You will definitely be scared. The more you do it, the less nervous you will be. That's just the way it is. There's no escaping that, I think, for anyone. Now, the amount you are nervous might differ from person to person. Maybe some person is like 5% nervous, some person is 80% nervous. But everyone is nervous and everyone gets better the more you are on stage. It's just inevitable.
Yeah, since you spoke about nerves, and I just want to ask both of you, what were your instance of nervousness when you went on stage for the first time?
Oh man, I was so I was super nervous. I had written something for myself for the first time, and see, only afterwards you realize that as a comedian, the first say 10 to 15 times that you go on stage are not about your material. The first 10 to 15 times are just about getting your ass on stage. Like having the guts to just go on stage is basically half the battle, at least in the early points of your stand-up career. And then your own jokes start becoming better. You start responding to the audience. Okay, audience yahan pe hasi thi, yahan pe nahi hasi. Okay, why didn't they laugh? Why didn't that joke work? And then you go back and all that, and you rewrite all of that, and that's how you become better as a comedian. But extremely nervous, man. So basically before this, if I can just quickly go on a tangent. Before working at IVM, I have done some acting work. I have done some writing, like screenplay writing work for TV shows in India. On Hindi TV. And then I got into stand-up after doing acting work and doing screenplay, because my aim was to always get into stand-up. That was my passion. My passion has always been like stand-up comedy. I'm obsessed with that shit. But I was always like, I didn't know how to get into that industry, because it was a very new industry, very premature industry at the time. And also I thought, okay, I'll get into acting, so I'll get comfortable on stage. I'll do theater and all. So I get comfortable on stage to do stand-up at some point. And so I did that, I did acting. Then I was like, okay, I need to learn how to write. So I'll do screenplay writing, and then I'll learn how to write, and then I'll do stand-up. So I did screenplay writing. And then when you finally muster your courage to do stand-up, you realize, dude, you just have to do stand-up to prepare for doing stand-up. You don't have to do anything else. There's nothing that can prepare you for that. It's not similar to theater even. It's not similar.
It's the experience that you learn.
Exactly. That was a great question. I would refer that to Vishnu. Deep, is it Vishnu? How was your first experience of
for me, I always, even now, anything like as in any kind of performance, no matter what, but I still have this thing called stage fear, because it's like you have always have this, you doubt yourself. It's not like you lose confidence or anything, but just that why 5% of you is still unsure about whether you can pull this off or not. So that question is always there. And I think that question also helps you to like, develop yourself and also like, learn from what you've done. And then if anything that needs to be corrected or anything that needs to be maybe change the way that you've rendered, whatever. So that all comes with that 5% fear. And I always took it as positive because there's no other way. Like you have to face it, as in until you face your deepest fear, you'll never know. Like as in how it is going to, how it is, like how would I put this? Like as in you have to face it to get through. Like as in then you have nothing else to fear about. Like if your stage fear is something that you really, if that is the thing that keeps you going to the stage, you should always face that problem. So that was one thing that made me strong. Like whatever stage shows that I've done so far. So I took it positive and then challenging for me.
That's so true. Yeah. Deep, what about you? How did you deal with your initial nervousness? Or I'm sure
I was so as I said, I started off by playing my first performance about it. I won't say show, but my first performance was in my music academy itself. I was doing an annual day function over there, and we were performing. So I did that show with my bandmates itself, who then became my bandmates. We met through guitar classes itself. So that was my first time at it. So I couldn't really face any fear as such, but yeah, I was a little bit conscious about what I'm going to play. So most of the fear comes from if you would be performing well or not, or if you're going to do your best or not. That's where the fear grows from. Okay, if I'm not going to be able to perform, and people will laugh or something like that, people are going to boo over me. That's how fear grows on you, and that's how stage fear comes up. Hey, I don't want to go on stage. No, please keep me out of this. That's 90. I've faced so many people who just have fear of stage just because of this this small fact that they might fuck up or they might screw up on the stage.
That's a lot of it.
So
I would like to add on.
Yeah, I was just completing on that. I was just completing on that. So the next time I went on stage was on a show, and this was my first show that I did. Not like the annual day function shows, but actual show. So I went on there. We were going to be performing for like 30 to 35 minutes.
Yeah,
and I was there. My legs were shivering. And my legs were shivering like hell, but I was still there. I kept my face, performance face. I was just doing my bit. I was just doing my best for that. And my bassy came up to me. Just don't worry. Like before we start, just don't worry. You can do this. You can kill it. Come on, let's do this. I was like, yeah, I can do that. And I don't know how I did it. People really liked the performance. And they really appreciated that. People came up to us, they appreciated. Yeah. And you were saying?
Deep, have you ever experienced frozen fingers while on a show?
That's exactly what my question is going to be. If you're nervous and your legs are shaking, my question is, if you're nervous and legs are shaking, aren't your fingers also shaking when you're playing the guitar?
Man, it is. And it is some kind of a panic attack that happens on my fingers at least. Like it has happened to me like at least 3 or 4 times. The one lick that you want to play and it doesn't come. It doesn't happen only. Like as your fingers are frozen, suddenly you look to your bandmates and they'll be like, what the F, bro? What is happening? And then that gets you into your next. That increases.
I was actually the contrary of the whole point that you're mentioning over here, because I always wanted to go on stage, and I wasn't I was never like that. Even though that was my first show, but I was wanting to go on stage. I was curious about that, and I was asking people, "Hey, when is our performance? When is our performance? When is our performance?"
Wow.
And when I went there, my body was not accepting that fact that my mind is what my mind is trying to do. My body was going against my mind, and my mind was saying that no, this is what I want. This is what I really want to do.
Yeah.
So I'm still like whenever people ask and people come to me just to motivate me, hey, you can do this. Come on, Deep. Yes, you have it in it. I was like, I'm already pumped up with motivation, and just overfilling my cup with that. So it just comes naturally to me. I don't really feel any fear to go on stage. The only fear I have on I have when I go on stage is any of the jokes that I crack. As a musician, we also have to be a little bit of a stand-up comedian as well.
Yeah.
So
that's a saying, by the way. That's a very famous saying said by my god comedian is Dave Chappelle. Living comedy legend is Dave Chappelle. He always says that every comedian wants to be a rock star, and every rock star thinks they're funny. That's why musicians and comedians get along really well. And it's absolutely true, man. Yeah.
That was my only fear, that okay, whatever I'm going to be saying between the songs, that shouldn't define my image as a person. Like, people shouldn't be like, oh, he's a good performer, but he doesn't have a stage presence. But actually, it didn't happen that way till now, touch wood. And that's all about how I deal with it. I actually never had to deal with it. It just came to me.
So at this point, I would like to ask our listeners, because this is a great point that Deep touched on, is just, what are your experiences of first time? If you guys have you ever been on stage, whether you've been on stage once or you've been on stage multiple times throughout your life, what are your experiences? What have your experiences been like? And how did you get over that initial bout of nervousness that you had? Before we go a little further, I want to understand a little bit more about, was there a particular inspiration because of which you got into playing music? Or was it like multiple inspirations, multiple musicians, you were like, oh man, I can do that, I want to do that, and so I'll start doing this?
For me, yes, there was this one inspiration, at least when I started playing the guitar, as in during my 11th grade. So we started going for this inter-school competition. So my journey as a band performer started as a going for competitions. It was like, you go there, battle of bands, and also it was like pretty cool. Like, you go there, you get to perform in front of many people. And then I had been to many youth festivals before, so it was not a very big challenge for me. But the genre of what I was doing was completely different. Without knowing this, I picked up a guitar and went to the stage. So it was like I learned quite a lot of stuff. So one day, I literally I performed really bad, and I had to stop midway, and then but the band continued. The next day, one of my guitarists came in, and then he was like, "It's okay, I can give you a few lessons to get into this." And then I only had to play a few chords in the previous show where I already which was also a disaster. But this guy came in and helped me with this. Okay, you can learn this. You can hand movements. Something like that. So the first song that he gave me to learn was Nothing Else Matters from Metallica.
Of course.
So
yes.
I heard this song, as in 2-3 times I've heard this song. I really love this song. And then I was like, man, I wish I could play the guitar for this song. And I wish I really could play this guitar whenever I feel like I want to play music or something. Till date, I still play that song. Whenever I pick up the guitar, I start off with that song anyway, or maybe to the other song, or at least one segment, or so that one song literally inspired me a lot, get to go with guitar. So it was I don't know, it was just one thing that always was a thing for me.
Nice. But who was that particular inspiration, like the particular musician?
Who was the question? Sorry. This guy's name is Gokul Hari he was a junior. He used to be my band member.
Oh wow. Oh, that's a very personal story, man. Nice. That's very cool.
Yeah,
I was thinking you were going to give a famous musician name, but that's nice. I very
like
that.
No. The inspiration came from this guy because this guy he used to play really well. So I still haven't gotten to see the legends the legends as in whoever. But this guy was very close to me, and we were band members. So this guy taught me few steps, and then I was able to go from there. I was able to develop my skills. Whatever I have now was the foundation was set by him.
Wow.
So yeah.
Oh, very cool. Deep, what about you? Did you have some kind of a moment like this, some inspiration or something?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't. So mine is not I don't have a specific person or specific idol that I inspired a lot. That inspired me a lot. And my moment of my aha moment for this was I used to listen to a lot of music, and I used to visualize myself playing that song. I used to visualize myself playing on the stage. Okay, I'm on the stage.
Were you in the bathroom going?
Yeah,
in the shower. No,
I have done that.
I've done that.
I really have a very good story on that. I had my first guitar. I had got my first guitar. That was my acoustic guitar. It was a F Cuts semi-electric guitar with a very thin body.
Oh.
So I didn't had any knowledge about guitars, so I never knew that how bad that guitar was. Now I know that how bad that guitar was. So what I was like, I used to when I bought this guitar for the first time, I was like, okay, now I'm gonna play. I used to kiss that guitar every day. I used to kiss that guitar every day. I was like, thank you so much.
Your first love, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what
that's how Deep lost his virginity.
But did the guitar kiss you back?
There is an ongoing joke in my family regarding guitars and me. I'll get to that in a few moments. But I'll just describe this thing that you just mentioned, that I was playing guitar and I was in the moment, and I was like, now I'm on the stage and I'm going to be playing. So you know how guitarists or performers pick up their guitar in the air and make that stance and all. I did that. So I just took the guitar, I took off the strap, and I just raised it in the air. And the next thing that happened was the fan hit the headstock of my guitar.
Ouch!
Oh man!
Oh,
that was, and what happened on the headstock? There was a cut. My headstock didn't. Luckily, my headstock didn't rip off. There was a cut on my headstock, and I was like, oh God! I went mad. Like, how can we fix this? Please tell me, how can we fix this? Is there any piece of wood that we can fix on this and we can polish it or something like that? I was becoming an ultra genius in wooden knowledge. Like we can put some rosewood in this and put some polishing and all. And I was like, this much knowledge, how can you get with a guitar? I was like, it's my guitar. I want it fixed right now. I went to the luthier. I was like, can you fix this? He said, no, we cannot fix this. So sorry. I had to live with that scar on my guitar for my whole.
I would agree to that.
For the whole guitar, for the whole time it was with me, and then I was just making myself. I was consoling myself. I was saying, yeah, there is a song called "The Scars on My Guitar." So there is a scar on your guitar. Deep, come on, live up to that song. Yes, there should be a scar on your guitar. That's how it happened. And after that, I bought an electric guitar, and you know what? Every time my electric guitar used to just even touch any solid surface, I used to run to a luthier. I was like, hey, I just touched this guitar just banged slightly over that wooden bed of mine. Do you think the sound will go off? Do you think something might have happened? I used to run like that. And when I got my first electric guitar, I used to kiss that guitar as well every day.
I love this thing about kissing your guitars, dude.
And you know what? I have 2 guitars right now with me. I do kiss them every day after.
Oh, no, that's hilarious. Did you ever kiss your guitars, man?
No, but I have.
But now you start, right?
I smell my guitar.
Oh, you smell your guitar.
Okay. No, I smell my guitar.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
It's just, I don't know. It's just a way of getting familiar with the guitar. It's like it feels good. Maybe the smell of the wood, maybe.
You know, my family will say like you have 2 wives with you. So, like, when are you going to get a baby? When are you going to get a baby from?
When are you getting a ukulele, bro?
Yeah, when are you getting a ukulele? So cool. Or a mandarin. Either way. Any string is good. Yeah. Well, your grandmother is sitar.
And my grandmother is the most curious one, always. She's always like, where are your wives? Where are your wives? Have you kept them safe or not? Because
पर वो तो हिंदी में कहती होंगी ना, like तेरी पत्नियां किधर है? ऐसे कहती है
Punjabi mostly. So like तेरी वोटी किथे है? Like where are your wives?
Okay, wow,
and
wow.
I was so OCD kind of a person with regards to my guitar, and I would let no one come even like 10 meters close to my guitar. I was like, don't you dare touch it, because I know if you touch it, you'll break it.
Wow.
One day my cousin came in home, and obviously non-musicians, they just take guitar as big swords or big axe. So he held my Les Paul guitar as an axe. And the next thing I did was
Slapped your cousin.
I just gave him the sweetest bad words I knew.
Yes.
Is he still alive?
Yeah. I could have
partially,
done
yes, partially alive.
but he was
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, he's
He's
medically
okay.
alive,
He was
but not really.
Mentally, I
Yeah.
have killed him too many
Yes.
times.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right, man, this is so interesting. I want to get to. Okay, at this point, I think it's a good point to take a break and then come back. So we will take a break and be right back.
This is the amazing story of something awesome. Once Chuck decided to start a podcast, and so he did. The end. Okay, that is a crappy story. But I've got some really cool stories over at my new show, The Origin of Things. On this podcast, I look at the stories of how brands came into being and sometimes evolved out of quite unexpected circumstances. And to make it really fun, I reveal the name of the brand and sometimes a category only at the very end. The show is 5 to 7 minutes per episode and perfect for trivia junkies and brand nerds, especially those with short attention spans. New episodes out every Wednesday on IVM Podcasts app or website or any podcast app or site that you happen to prefer. End of story, they lived happily ever after.
And we're back. So, guys, I think this is about time we get into what this episode is intended for. On World Music Day, we want to basically reminisce about some of our favorite musicians from our college days. Why I say college days is because this is what my experience has been. This is what I've understood about my friends and the people around me is, for the most part, or for a large part at least, the music that you listen to in college stays with you for the longest time in your life. Because of, for a lot of things, your musical tastes are developing, you are finding yourself out as a person, and music has a large part to play in that, about who you become as a person. And just then the memories are great because of whenever I listen to like a particular song, I remember hanging out at my friend's place after college, getting high and doing stuff that you do. So if I can just start off quickly, I in college, and this is till date my most favorite band, and I'm obsessed with this band, and I think there's no better musicians than this band, is the Beatles. I found out in college.
Oh, yes.
Okay, and I think that's the perfect age to find out the Beatles. Please don't find out the Beatles in school, because you will not appreciate them. Don't find them out later in life, because you'll be like, damn it, why didn't I find this out sooner? I think college is the perfect time to find the Beatles. And it's like finding Pink Floyd also. Like, although I never got into Pink Floyd, but I understand a lot of people's experiences with Pink Floyd is very similar. Of you find it out in school and then it stays with you forever. But yeah, the Beatles I was obsessed with. And one of my most favorite fun fact about the Beatles now is that, you know how they have a UK top 100 Billboard charts, right? Top 100 Billboard charts, like top songs of the week or the month or whatever, however you calculate that. The Beatles are the only band in all of musical history to have top 5 UK Billboard charts, all top 5 Beatles songs from the same album. It has never happened before, never happened after that. All 5 songs, Beatles songs. If I'm not wrong, it was from the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band album. So yeah, that's Beatles was huge for me. All those guys were great. Paul McCartney, Thomas Lennon, George Harrison, Ringo Starr, just musical legends. I don't like, how do you say more about the Beatles that has already been said, man? That hasn't already been said. So I'm just gonna defer to you guys. Anything?
Which song is your favorite from Beatles?
Oh, that's a great question. 2 songs that I always keep going back to are first one is "Don't Let Me Down." Don't let me down.
Yeah.
And
for me is the While My Guitar Gently Weeps.
of
I would
course,
not-
yes.
Yeah.
Man, you said that name and it just gave me chills. That I love that song so much. And also another song that I really like is I Saw Her Standing There. She was just 17, because I'm into 17-year-olds. You get it? No, I'm not. That was just a joke. Please don't quote me on that. But dude, there are too many songs, man. I like rock and roll music. I like Hey Jude was, of course, just how do you not like Hey Jude? There are too many Beatles songs. Too many Beatles songs, I would say. But yeah, I would like to hear what you guys. Firstly, were you guys ever into the Beatles? I'm sure that to some extent you were.
Yeah, obviously. Who
Yeah.
If you meet a musician and he says that he's never heard of Beatles, he's not a musician.
Like, dude, what are you? What are you doing? How are you not of the Beatles, man? You know that,
You're not
and
even
also,
human.
also when people say, dude, when you ask them, okay, so what kind of music do you listen to? They say like, dude, I'm not into music. I'm like, what? How? What do you mean you're
How
not
can you?
into music? That is just such a bizarre statement to even make. How are you not into music? Maybe you don't listen to music regularly on a regular basis, but you are into music. You have heard a lot of music in your life.
You know,
That whole thing is very bizarre.
We musicians can get too psychological on that particular point, but yeah, I mean, music is almost everywhere. I didn't want to drag that into an ultra psychological kind of a lecture, but music is almost everywhere.
Yeah.
So if he says that he's not into music, he's actually surrounded by it and he doesn't know it.
Exactly.
It's exactly like you never ask a person, do you do music? It's like, what kind of music do you listen to? It's like, do you smoke? It's like, we cannot ask somebody like, do you smoke or do you do music? It's like, what kind of music do you listen to? You cannot stay away from music.
Yeah, exactly, man. It's crazy. So yeah, well, what about you guys, Deep?
Came from like since you said about Beatles. After, like, I was listening to Beatles. I obviously was listening to.
What's your favorite Beatles song, man? Deep? Before that,
mine is "Hey Jude" and "Don't Let Me Down."
Arey, wow! Hey, nice, dude. Marry me now. Yeah, sorry, you were saying.
But yeah, when I was in my learning stage, so my mentor used to tell me that I wanted to get into rock music. So he said, if you want to get into rock music, you have to understand the basic of it. You have to understand where it was originated from. So rock music was originated from blues. So I had never heard of blues before getting into learning guitar. So I started listening to Eric Clapton, B.B. King, Joe Bonamassa, all these people. So that's how I started. And through that, my journey started of listening to songs which before that I was listening to all Hindi songs, Bollywood songs, all cliche love songs, and a little bit of Western songs as well. That time the Western songs I was listening to was the Western bands I was listening to was Linkin Park, Seether, and Simple Plan, all these bands.
But did you guys find out Linkin Park in college, or did you find Linkin Park in school? Because I found them out in school.
School.
Yeah,
school,
school.
Yeah, same. I think So are we all? Just can I quickly check? Are we all around the same age? I'm 29 right now. Are you guys around the same age?
Yeah. I'm 27.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So around the same similar childhoods. We all had similar childhoods. Yeah. Cool.
I would also
say that my first. Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead. Please go ahead.
No, I was just saying that I also wanted to ask you this one question. Was Linkin Park your first exposure to the rock sound or whatever that sound, the sound of heavy?
Yeah, I mean, Linkin Park was my first. I'm not sure about it because I might have heard a little bit of.
Yeah,
other
I'm not
sure,
exactly sure right now. Exactly.
Yeah, but because
for me, I know for most of my musician, not most, but at least I know a lot of musician friends who would say, "Hey, man, Linkin Park. That was my first rock exposure. That was my first something that I listened to. That was heavy. So that's the reason why I wanted to ask you guys.
But there's a story there's a small instant that how I got exposed to Linkin Park or how I got introduced to Linkin Park. If you all know about Dragon Ball Z.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, man.
So my favorite character in Dragon Ball Z was Vegeta. So there was this tribute video for Vegeta made by someone, and the song that was running behind was In the End. So
Nice.
That song was relating to Vegeta so much. So my love for Vegeta, my love for Dragon Ball Z and Vegeta, and plus that song was doing so justice to that character.
In the end, it didn't even matter.
That guy used to rip he used to actually rip his ass off to be as better as Goku, but he was one behind it always.
That's awesome, dude.
So that's how Linkin Park hit me, and I was like, "Which song is this?" I searched it up, and that's how I started. I downloaded all the songs of Linkin Park at that point.
So I am
That's how I
actually.
started.
Yes, discography. The
Yeah.
discography we call.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's another question I want to get to. But before that, I was want to say that I'm actually confused between whether I heard Green Day or Linkin Park or Sum 41. Sum 41 was a punk rock band. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but it's one of these three that I heard first. So I'm not exactly sure. But a question I want to get to is again, Vishnu, I want to hear about your this thing also, the musicians you got into in college. But before that, a question is, how do you guys consume music? Do you go by song, or do you find a particular artist whose one song you like and then just download or listen to their entire discography? Because I think I fall into the latter one. I like listen to artist discographies. Like that's
Same
like
other-
I love that shit.
See,
For
I
me,
as well.
how I used to do was like for me, like my brother used to have a collection. So my elder brother, so he had a collection of music in his computer.
wow.
So I used to listen to all the songs. So my music taste was also like very similar to my brother, because those were the songs where we used to listen to as a kids, like as in Linkin Park and Metallica's few mainstream songs like Fade to Black and all.
Mhm.
So how I did that, this journey of searching for songs was like I used to listen. So there are these few songs that I really like about one artist, and then I found out that it is coming from the same album. So then I also got to know from my uncle that okay, if you're following an album, you should also know that these albums have this one thing called they should all sound similar to each other, the songs. So then I got okay, then what would another album would sound like? Like as in, would it be completely different from this album? Would it change the sound of the artist? So these questions were there because I was very curious about music as a kid. So that moment of what I used to do is like I used to like write down the bands I used to like, and then yeah, of course I would just type like discography for this band, and then of course then I would get to listen or stream through internet. So that's what I used to do, and then of course I would download them and keep it as a collection, and then later I would just whatever that I'm doing, maybe doing my random shows at house, and I would just play it loudspeakers and I just do it. Like play one album or maybe mix alphabetically or maybe whatever. So that's how I used to do. I never picked one song and then went behind artists. No, that's not the case for me at least.
Following to what Vishnu said, I have a question for you, for which you can answer. So when you listen to song, at least I know, and I think part of that Antriksh also would be experiencing because we both download the whole discography of the artist and listen to each and every song that like. When you listen to a song, what makes you stay to that song? What makes you keep that song to yourself and not delete it or maybe just skip that song? Or like, for example, if I have to give an example, okay, when I listen to a song, I listen till like 3/4 of the song. And if there are parts, which are really catchy or which makes me get hooked onto, I really stick to that song. I listen to that again and again, because that part, or maybe a chorus, or maybe a verse, or maybe an intro riff that makes it special, makes me stay with that song. So, what kind of a procedure do you follow?
If I can say first, sorry, Vishnu, just quickly, I'll just
please.
So. For me, I think it becomes difficult to particularly point out what in the song it is, because also what happens for me is I'll listen to the song first for the first time and I'm like, okay, fine, another good song. And not until I listen to it multiple times, like a second or a third time, will I realize, I really like this song. And then I'll be into that song a lot. So I might not even realize the first few times that I listen to it that, I will end up liking the song. And also another thing that happens is very often, I'm sure you guys will both agree that this has happened multiple times in your lives, I'm sure, where for years you had heard a song, okay, and you weren't a big fan of it, okay, and then at some later point in life, like maybe like 10 years down the line, 5 years down the line, whatever, you heard that song again, you're like, oh dude, how did I not listen to this song more when I heard it for the first time, So I think that also happens. So it can be anything. It can be like an emotional connect. It can be maybe you like the tune, you like the beat. I think a lot of things have to play. I don't think I have one single answer for that. Vishnu?
For me, how I used to do is that I would pick a song and then I would listen to it completely, as a fresh listener. So for me, it's like if I don't like the song for the first time, I would not listen to it the second time, because I don't know. I just think that if I liked it the first time, there must be something that was really there as in a fresh listener. So that's what I do. the second time when I listen to it, the only thing that happened, the rarest of the rare scenarios where I like the song is when I listen to it on a completely different speaker. Maybe the sounds can like the more of the sound I can hear. So that's how it was for me. Like as in, there was this one song by Metallica. This was called Seek and Destroy. I never used to like that song until I heard it on a different speaker where I could hear actually the entire instruments clearer. So I think that also matters, like as in somewhere. Because if you're not listening to the song where to its the right vibe, I don't think there's the point of listening to it. I don't know. It's just my point of view to listening to music.
Yep, that's fair. Deep, for you, same question.
For me, like just how coming to that, since Vishnu mentioned Metallica, there's this one song called "Fuel" by Metallica. Yeah. The way it starts, it's very catchy. But when the whole song comes in, it loses its hold on you. It actually loses its hold. But the start of the song is so good, like you want to listen to it. You want to listen to it. That's how they sell the song. So if I see such kind of same goes for if you would have heard Carnival. So there's a song by them, Thermeta. Yeah. If I go to myself back in like 5 years or 6 years back and I make him listen Thermeta, he will not like it because they're the scale. Now I'm going to get a little bit musical, technical in the music scene over here. The scale that they are using is Phrygian scale, which people might, if a layman person would listen to it, he would differentiate it like being a Egyptian scale. So for me, it wouldn't be for me in 5 years back. It wouldn't be that appealing, but now it's appealing. Why? Because I found that song so catchy in the chorus and the riffs and all. So for me, the song, if it gets to me melodically, then I stick to that song. And mostly I find myself sticking to melancholic song.
Correct.
Yeah. Vishnu, can you please tell us a couple of artists that you got into in college that has since stayed with you?
Oh, yes. Have anybody heard of Snarky Puppy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the moment for me. That actually shook my ass off and it was like a very big discovery for me because until then I have never heard out of metal, hard rock, and jazz was something very new for me. Although Snarky Puppy is not all about jazz, but they are like modern jazz with funk stuff. There's so many things going on with them, so that sound was pretty new for me. And then, of course, even I have done a college in Carnatic, but I've done a diploma in audio engineering. So Swarnabhumi Academy. So that academy has got a jazz genre because the songs that they learn and for the ensemble they follow a jazz genre. So it was like they used to pick up these songs from Snarky Puppy and then they would cover John Scofield. So these artists were like completely different, and also very new to me. New sound, fresh sound, and they sound very tight. The sound, and also when you go do a little bit of research on those, each and every musicians are like they're not just one instrumental. They're like multi-instrumental. They play hell lot of instruments, and they are like it's just the spectrum is so wide. So even the same instrument who's playing saxophone would be playing some other instrument in the different section of a song. So that made me because I never knew Snarky Puppy is just about 10-15 people, but it sounded like at least 20 to 30, 40 instruments coming around. Like that was the realization for me. And then the second band was Porcupine Tree. I always got to know this band, but I didn't get to understand the band better until I got to know, as in more songs from college. And these were the songs they used to listen to, and they used to cover these songs, and they used to talk a lot about these artists, and Steven Wills, one other artist that I really love and admire. So
I think everyone should, every musician in their lives will obviously agree with us that Steven Wilson is a genius musician.
Man, no doubt. Man, how can you do that, man? Seriously, he can just make anything sound good. And also, Guthrie Govan as an artist, that guy, and Steven Wilson collab, I just love their performances and the songs they've done. is just mind blowing.
They're more than gifted, if I would go to say. Guthrie, Steven Wilson, they're more than gifted people.
Wow,
Yeah.
I do not know these names. Sorry, guys. I feel,
Man,
I
You
feel
obviously must have heard
underqualified.
of Porcupine Tree, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Porcupine.
Yeah.
So Steven Wilson is the vocalist of Porcupine Tree. So, and also he produces his singles, and he's an artist by himself as well. So
Oh,
first song I would recommend is Drive Home. One lovely song that it's very emotional. It's too good.
nice. Very cool.
And Guthrie, if I would just continue with what you said, Guthrie, if you would have been a guitarist, you would have known who Guthrie is. Because for us guitarists, Guthrie is the guy we look up to.
Okay.
He is he's such a good player. He's such a cleanest player I have seen so far. And like if you actually see a guitarist playing live, a normal guitarist playing live on electric guitar, you would see a little bit of. Now, this is a guitarist would notice. You would see there's a little bit of lack of cleanliness.
He's the
in
Jesus
his
of
playing.
guitar, man. He's the Jesus of guitar. He looks like one.
He looks like one. He looks like one.
Okay, long hair. That's what I get.
Long hair and slim guy and
And a beard.
you
And a
know,
beard. Okay.
beard.
Cool. Nice. So yeah, I was talking about RHCP, and I was introduced to them in college because of a song named Tear, TEAR, which is just amazing, that song. And then I got into other songs of RHCPs like Can't Stop and The Police Station and all the amazing albums they've done. Stadium Arcadium is a great album if you guys are interested. By the way, is a great album. Their recent what is this? I think it's called I'm With You is also one of the great albums. They've been doing great work, dude. Just 2 years back, they came out with another album which had a song called Go Robot, which is another like instant hit for me. So they have just such great music, such a great vibe, and they have stuck to their vibe to a lot of extent. Like they do, like every album is a little different of this, but they have stuck to an RHCP-ness that has kind of survived till today in their music, which I am really appreciative of and really love. Another artist that I can quickly get out of the way is who I was again introduced to in college was Bob Marley. And I love Bob Marley. I don't think I have met only one other person in my life who knows almost every Bob Marley song by heart. Okay. And I am one of those people. I know almost every Bob Marley song by heart, dude. I know the rhythm of the song. I know the lyrics of the song. I just love Bob Marley. And you can imagine why I got into Bob Marley in my college time. I'll let you fill in the blanks for that one. But yeah, reggae as a genre, love reggae. And Bob Marley was a huge part of that for me. What about you, Deep?
So, as I said, I started with blues. And then from there, I just followed the steps as they were coming in front of me. So from blues, I started listening to alternative rock. Then after alternative rock, I started listening to progressive rock, and I'm still with progressive rock right now. So the band that I was introduced to and has still stuck with me is Porcupine Tree. Right? It's the biggest inspiration to me, and I mean that song actually inspires me to write the kind of songs that I write for my band, the original song. Then comes Tool. So these bands are not just bands. These bands are actually these bands are actually an emotion. Every song that they write, every melody that they make, and every lyrics that they write to it has a particular meaning to that. And that's what I look up to in a song. I really don't look up to songs that just go around with alcohol, drinking, and girls around. So I don't want to point out a particular genre to the particular artist. I don't want to tag a particular artist to that kind of comment. But I really look up to the songs that actually have a meaning to it, which actually justify the kind of a composition that they have done. So Porcupine Tree, Tool, and then comes Dream Theater. Dream Theater is again one of my biggest inspiration after Porcupine Tree, Tool. So currently, I've also discovered some underrated bands which people might not be knowing. Underrated artists as well. So there's this band called Riverside. If anybody might have heard of them or not. So please, if there are progressive rock genre fanatics listening to this, please go and listen out to Riverside. Then there is Pain of Salvation, and another band which is actually twin brother of Porcupine Tree is the Pineapple Thief. It actually sounds also a little bit of so it actually sounds rhyme to what Porcupine Tree is.
The name is Pineapple Thief?
Yeah, the Pineapple Thief.
Okay.
So Porcupine Tree, Pineapple Thief. They actually tried to make a little bit of correlation between between them.
Correct.
Yeah. So they actually also make their compositions very much inspired by Porcupine Tree. So they, as my band's previous guitarist said, they're actually filling the void which Porcupine Tree has left. So they are actually doing what Porcupine Tree did, but just a little one step up. So so this is what currently I'm listening to this genre for the progressive rock, and also I listen to indie artists in Hindi music.
Wait, these are talking about musicians that you discovered in college? Talking about musicians you're discovering right now?
Yeah, I discovered them in college when I was in college.
Yeah.
Porcupine Tree I discovered in college while I was in my engineering days. So that's how. Yeah. So that's how. So that's how I started listening to progressive rock through Porcupine Tree itself. Like before Porcupine Tree, I was listening to Linkin Park, as I said, then Seether, then Theory of Dead Man, then Simple Plan, and also one of the band which I am really moved by is Sick Puppies. They have some really good song, and one of the songs that really I always go back to is You're Going Down.
Wait, their name is Sick Puppies?
Yeah, Sick Puppies.
Sick Puppies.
Wow.
Yeah, not
Snarky Puppies, Sick Puppies.
Snarky Puppies, Sick Puppies.
Yeah, and then this, I wanted to ask you this question before, but we are falling out of time. But this is one song that you always go back to and will always have a special place in your heart. I'm going to answer that for myself first. If anybody have heard of this band called Collective Soul, they have this song. That song actually made them a big band. Okay. So this song is called Shine, and people have done a remake of this song as well. There's this band called Pillars who has done a heavy rock version of this song. So that song, I just don't want to listen to music. I don't want to study music. If I just want to have a chill day and I want to listen to something, I always go back and listen to Shine. And just mentioning the fact that I nowadays I find myself not listening or hearing to music. I happen to just study the music. As I said, Riverside, I study their structures and all this stuff. So what kind of song? So coming back to the question, what kind of song? Which song is that stuck with you so far?
Vishnu, I'd like to take that one first.
Okay. For me, it was Linkin Park only. Somewhere I Belong.
Somewhere I Belong.
It was always, I don't know, every time I hear that song, it was something, it takes me back to where it all started. It's just that feeling that comes to me. Like where I started listening to music like crazy, like you became a music fanatic. That is a vibe that I get from this song.
Okay, cool. Man, that's such a difficult question. So one particular song, there are a lot of songs, man, because there are a lot of songs. I would like to say that song for me is, man, I'm at a loss for words. I can't think of one particular song, man. It'll probably be something from the Beatles. Dude. So one song which every time I listen to it, I get like a small different thing out of it, is Strawberry Fields Forever by the Beatles. I don't know if you guys have heard the song, but Strawberry Fields Forever. If I had to mention one song, I would mention that one. Yeah, I think that works. Cool. Yeah, that's for me. Sorry, my answer took very long. It seems like a non-legit answer, but I swear I love that song too, so don't worry. Okay. Anyway, I think that brings us to the end of this part of our episode, and we still have recommendations round to go through. So please see us on the other side of this break.
How many times have you motivated yourself to improve your sleep, or lose weight, or be more productive? How many times have you failed? Hi, my name is Ashton Doctor. Tune into my show, The Habit Coach Podcast, where we focus on creating small, tiny habits to improve your life instead of those big, impossible tasks. So make listening to me a habit every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com or on your favorite podcasting app.
And we're back to the final part of this episode where we are going to give you some awesome recommendations. In the previous half, we were talking about the music that we've been introduced to in our college days, and we talked about Deep and Vishnu's histories as musicians themselves. That was a lot of fun. Thank you for sticking around till the very end. And we would like to reward you with some great recommendations of something you can check out over this weekend. Because why not, right? World Music Day coming up. So if you guys have musical recommendations, well and good. If you don't, no pressure. We already talked about music quite a lot on this episode. So who would like to start us off? Deep, would you like to go first, man?
Sure. So I'm a gamer in my free time. So I want to recommend this game, this really interesting game called It Takes Two. So this game is
it a multiplayer?
It's a local co-op, and it's also
nice.
an online multiplayer game as well.
Okay.
So it's actually based on a couple who has a daughter, a very young daughter, and these two, like the couple, decide to get divorced because the marriage is not happening properly. That's not going properly. They're having their differences. So what happens? Like there's this magic book which makes these two, the guy and the girl, make their soul go into dolls, which their daughter made. And now they have to go to her daughter, and just to get back to their own bodies, they have to make her daughter cry again, because they got into the dolls through the daughter's tears. Now they think that they can get back to the original bodies by reverse engineering process, by making her cry again and like bathing in the tears of a daughter and getting back to the body, which is not the actual plan. The actual plan is like making your relationship work, and that's how you get into that's how you get out of that whole dolls and all.
A very unique story, man. Wow.
Yeah, but it might sound a little bit of mushy.
Is it a platformer? It's not an action game, right? It's an arcade?
It is an action. It's an actual third person action game.
Oh yeah.
It's like every other third person game, shooter or slasher that the third person games lovers might be playing. So it's a really fun game. I would really recommend to people, if they are not couples also, they can please go and play this game. It's really fun. The stages are so beautiful. The whole structure of the whole game is so beautiful. They have made the graphics so well. They've made the environment so well. It's so pleasant. It's just to see also.
Oh, nice.
The gameplay is good at its best, but also the scenery, the visuals are also good.
What are you playing it on your PC?
I'm playing it on my PC, but it's available on all the gaming consoles as well.
All right, cool. And this sounds like a cool date game, like a game to play on a date. Is that right?
Yeah. That's the next thing that you're going to be doing with your girlfriend.
Yeah, that's exactly what. This is my next trick to get laid, man.
Yeah.
I'm just joking. Vishnu, what about you? What do you like to recommend, man?
For me, I would really like to recommend this show called Disjointed.
Yep.
So the name says it all. So there's a joint. So this series is also about a lot about cannabis. So this is also the cast is actually Kathy Bates. So Kathy Bates is also acting as Ruth Whitefeather Feldman. So what Ruth Whitefeather Feldman, as in called Ruth. So what Ruth does is that she is an cannabis activist. So she used to do a lot of protests, like, against cannabis laws, as in laws against cannabis. So she used to protest all of that, and then she, after decades of advocating for legalizing cannabis usage, right now she is running a, what do you say?
Pot business, like a
recreational drugstore. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a cannabis, not it's an illegal stuff. It's like a recreational drugstore where you can get, you need to have recommendation, and also you need to be about 18 years. It's like a legal store where you can buy.
By recommendation, you mean prescription, right?
Yeah, sorry, yeah, prescription, yes.
Yeah.
Prescription, yeah. So that is how, so the story is like, and the entire series is about, again, very funny. The storyline, everything is between Ruth, who runs the story, and her son, Travis, and all the employees there. So it's kind of, it's kind of very interesting because they have this. So on a typical show, it's like a typical TV show where you will see like ads, like, of popular marketing, as in many other commercial brands. But in this, they have done a slight twist in that. How they would bring up ads is that they would just bring in fake ads, which is also produced by disjointed producer. Like, for example, they will just bring in a fake product, and it would be like, the purpose of that product would be very funny. So something like that. And then it's like you market like it's like a spoof of an ad in a series. Like, so that is how they bring in this transition, one scene to another. So that is one thing that I really liked about that show. Okay. And the second thing is that, and also, and especially when it's about cannabis, so they really need to show some of this trippy stuff, as we call. So there are these lots and lot of illustrative work that has done. I would say people, like, as in they talk and then they trip. So they have to show these trippy scenes like through illustrations. So I really love those. It's like, it's never ending, and it's just very artistically done. It talks a lot about current affairs and about the world, and it's very funny how the use of the cannabis is how it can. It's just one tangent of what, in a funny way, as in how we can heal people, how we can be an icebreaker to one person to another. It brings in all emotions. So this is one series that I would really like to recommend for the listeners.
All right, thank you. Where can people check out Disjointed? Is it on Netflix?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's on Netflix. Yeah, it's on Netflix.
Okay.
So there are 2 seasons for this, 10 episodes each. So, but yeah, once you start, I don't think you will be able to stop.
All right, nice. Getting to my recommendation, I would like to recommend a YouTube channel called Corridor Crew. Corridor Crew. What they do, they have this great series called VFX Artists React.
Yes.
Stuntmen React, where VFX artists react to good and bad CGI in like it can be in TV shows and movies, but mostly movies. And then there's a Stuntmen React series that they have, in which they get some of their stuntmen friends who are actual stuntmen in Hollywood, working in Hollywood movies. One of them is named Guy the Stuntman. He has doubled as a body double for Black Panther, for T'Challa's character on Black Panther the movie, and so many cool stuntmen they get. They themselves are VFX artists, so who again work in the industry and all. So the entire series is very fun, and you will like, if you've ever wondered, man, I wonder how they shot that, or how they CGI'd that, or how the hell are they performing these stunts. If you ever wonder that, and if you ever wonder that, I would highly recommend this series on YouTube. It's called Corridor Crew. Please check it out. And mine is a very simple recommendation. I think that brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you so much, guys. Deep, where can people follow you online?
So y'all can follow my band. It's called Celsius, and the username is Celsius Band Music. It's on Instagram. You can follow it on YouTube as well. It's Celsius Official. And if you want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram. My username is o.so.deep.
Also deep.
I do, and I'm open for DMs.
Okay.
Wow.
And Vishnu, what about you?
So I'm sorry to say that I'm not very active on social media platforms, but I do have a Facebook account. I have an account everywhere, but it's like just like I've just opened an account and I just left it there. So right now I'm only active on Facebook, www.facebook.com/Helsinger13. That's what I call myself, Helsinger.
All right. And you can follow me at Antariksh T on Instagram and Antariksh Stack on Twitter. That's all. That's it, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for inviting, Chandresh.
Hi, I'm DJ, one of the presenters of the Edges and Sledges cricket podcast. I'm based in London and host the podcast along with my friend from school, Varun, who's based in Singapore, and his brother Ashwin, who's based in the US. We've all been massive fans of Indian cricket all our lives, and despite living in 3 different time zones and having pretty busy professional lives, we decided to start our own cricket podcast in March 2018. After putting out 59 episodes on our own, we were delighted to join IVM in May 2019, becoming the first pre-existing podcast to be picked up by India's largest podcast network. We've chatted with some awesome people, had some fantastic cricketing conversations along the way. But the main reason we do this every week is to have fun discussing the same cricket topics and issues that you guys are talking about every day in your living rooms. We're fans, not experts, so expect us to be honest. We really hope you decide to join us every week on the podcast.
पेश खिदमत है आपकी शान में हमारे अंजुमन से. Hi, I am Sadaf.
And I'm Arshit. खाने का इतिहास, economics, policy, psychology, सब है मेन्यू पे.
Only on the Nankari podcast every Wednesday, सिर्फ IVM podcast ऐप या वेबसाइट पर या फिर जहां से भी आप अपने पॉडकास्ट सुनते हो.